You did everything they told you to do. The education, the job, the overtime, the saving after the bills clear. And every month ends with the same quiet question. Why does the math never change? Here is the answer nobody gives you. Right now, there are people earning half of what you earn who will be wealthy within 15 years. And there are NFL players who earned millions going bankrupt within 2 years of leaving the game. 78% of them. Which means the thing that decides which group you join was never your income. The middle class is not an income bracket. It is an operating system. A set of invisible rules about money that were installed in you before you were old enough to question them. Rules that decide what you buy, what you fear, what you build, and what you settle for. And as long as those rules keep running, no raise, no promotion, and no side hustle will ever be enough. Because the system eats whatever you feed it. By the end of this video, you will see all 5 of those rules, the research that exposes them, the price you have been paying for each one, and the very different rules that wealthy people run instead. And once you see them, you will not be able to unsee them. Let's start with where that 78% number comes from, because it ends the income argument forever. In 2009, Sports Illustrated published the investigation behind it. 78% of NFL players were under financial stress or bankrupt within just 2 years of retirement. These are men who earned more in a single season than most families earn in a decade. Lottery winners tell the same story. Study after study has found that a large share of major winners end up no wealthier than they started, and many end up worse, burning through sums that should have lasted generations in a matter of years. Now flip it. Thomas Stanley and William Danko spent 20 years studying actual millionaires in America for their book, The Millionaire Next Door, and what they found surprised everyone. Most real millionaires were not executives or celebrities. They were teachers, engineers, and small business owners, people with ordinary incomes who lived in ordinary neighborhoods and drove ordinary cars. Money flowed through the athletes and evaporated. Money flowed through the teachers and compounded. Same money, opposite outcomes. The only variable left is the operating system it flowed through. Your income is fuel. But fuel has never once decided where a car goes. The engine does. And the middle-class engine is built from 5 specific rules. Rule 1. Optimize for safety, never for ownership. The psychologist Daniel Kahneman won a Nobel Prize for documenting a simple glitch in human judgment. Losing something feels roughly twice as powerful as gaining the same thing. It is called loss aversion. And the middle-class operating system is built directly on top of it. It chooses the guaranteed salary over the uncertain equity, the safe job over the small business, the known monthly payment over the unknown investment. Every single time, it asks one question first. What could I lose? The wealthy operating system asks a different question. What could this become? Now, this does not mean the wealthy are gamblers. The research says the opposite. They often take fewer risks than you would think, but the risks they take are asymmetric. Limited downside, uncapped upside. A small business that can only fail small but can grow without limit. An investment that can lose 1 times the money or return 20. The middle class takes the opposite trade without ever seeing it as a trade. A salary has a floor, and that feels safe. But it also has a ceiling. And you pay for the floor with the ceiling. Here is the uncomfortable sentence. A comfortable salary is the most sophisticated painkiller ever invented for ambition. It is exactly enough to keep the pain of wanting more just below the level where you would actually do something about it. That is not an accident. That is Rule 1, doing its job. And if the first rule caps what you build, the second rule drains what you keep. Rule 2, by the evidence of wealth instead of the wealth itself. Stanley and Danko found that most of the people driving luxury cars were not millionaires, and most of the millionaires were not driving luxury cars. Sit with that for a second. The people who look rich and the people who are rich are largely 2 different groups, because status is purchased with the same dollars that could have purchased assets, and every dollar can only be spent once. The financed car that loses value the moment it leaves the lot. The bigger house that arrived with a bigger mortgage the same month the raise landed. The lifestyle that upgrades itself automatically every time the income does. Economists call that last one lifestyle inflation, and it is the silent partner of rule, too. It is the reason you can double your income over a decade and end the decade with the same amount left over each month. The spending rises to meet the earning like water finding its level. Morgan Housel put it perfectly in The Psychology of Money. Wealth is what you do not see. Wealth is the car not bought, the upgrade not taken. It is income not spent, and that invisibility is exactly why nobody copies it. The middle class spends to prove it is not poor. The wealthy save to make sure they never will be. And the cruelest part is that the proving never ends. There is always another neighbor, another upgrade, another level of the game. Psychologists call it hedonic adaptation. Every new purchase feels normal within months, and then quietly demands the next one. Rule 3: sell your time, and only your time. Here is the strangest expense on the middle-class balance sheet. 24 hours a day, and every single one of them sold to someone else's asset. The wealthy quietly keep 1 hour back. Every day. And compounded over a decade, that 1 hour is often the entire difference. Here is why it matters that much. Every wage and every salary on earth is the same transaction. Hours of your life exchanged for money. And that transaction has a mathematical wall built into it. You have 24 hours. No promotion changes that. Which means income earned with time can never truly scale. It can inch upward, a few % a year if the performance review goes well, but it cannot multiply. And the moment you stop trading, it stops paying. Miss a month of work and you will feel exactly how rented your income really is. The wealthy run the reverse rule. They use money to buy assets, and assets are simply things that earn without you standing next to them. Shares of businesses that generate profit while you sleep. Property that collects rent whether you are at your desk or on a beach. Skills, systems, and bodies of work that get built once and pay for years. This is the oldest wealth principle in recorded history. It shows up in ancient Babylon as making gold work for you. It shows up in every serious book on money written since. The middle class works for money. The wealthy make money work. And that is what the protected hour is for, not overtime, not a second job. 1 hour a day spent building something that will eventually earn without you, while everyone else sells all 24. Which brings us to the next rule, the most profitable blind spot in the modern economy. Entire industries exist because of it. Rule 4. Think in months, never in decades. Listen carefully to how the middle class evaluates any purchase. Can I afford the monthly payment? Not what does this cost me in total. Not what would this money become if it compounded for 20 years instead. Just, does it fit inside this month? Car financing. Buy now, pay later. Minimum payments on credit cards. All of it is engineered to make enormous costs feel small by slicing them into monthly pieces. The monthly payment is the middle-class unit of thought. The wealthy think in a different unit, decades. And here is why that single difference is worth more than any salary. Compounding, the most powerful force in finance, is almost invisible on a monthly time horizon. It does nearly nothing in month 1. It does nearly everything in decade 3. Here is what that looks like in real money. A $600 monthly car payment, invested instead at a conservative 7% return, becomes roughly $300,000 over 20 years. Same $600. One version buys a machine that will be worth almost nothing. The other buys freedom. And nobody at the dealership will ever show you that number. Warren Buffett is the cleanest example in existence. His skill as an investor is real, but as Morgan Housel points out in The Psychology of Money, more than 96% of his fortune was built after his 65th birthday. Not because he suddenly got smarter at 65. Because that is simply when the compounding curve went vertical. His true edge was never stock picking. It was starting as a child and refusing to interrupt the process for 80 years. The middle class asks what money can do this month, so it gets what a month can give. The wealthy ask what money can do in 30 years, so they get what 30 years can give. Same dollars, different clocks, wildly different lives. Which brings us to the fifth rule, the one that holds the other four in place. Rule 5, never ask where the rules came from. Because here is the truth. You did not choose this operating system. It was installed. Start with school. Whatever the system was designed for, look at what it measurably rewards. Following instructions, meeting requirements, exchanging effort for a predetermined grade. 13 years of training in how to be excellent at rules 1 through 4. And in all of those years, not one semester on how capital works, how assets are built, how ownership compounds. It was simply never in the curriculum. Then layer on what you absorbed at home. Every sentence your parents said about money, that it does not grow on trees, that rich people must have done something wrong to get there, that people like us do not start businesses, went straight into a child's mind that had no filter to question any of it. By the time you earned your first paycheck, the operating system was already running, and it has been quietly auto-approving your financial decisions ever since. If you have explored our archive on the subconscious mind, you already know this machinery. Beliefs installed in childhood become the lens becomes the behavior becomes the life. Money is simply the arena where that loop is most visible and most expensive. You are not lazy. You are not bad with money, and none of this is your fault. You were handed the script before you could read, but you have just read it. And that changes what happens next, because a rule you can see is a rule you can rewrite. So let's talk about the exit. And it starts with the most important warning in this entire video. You cannot outturn a middle-class operating system. Give it a raise and it will inflate the lifestyle. Give it a windfall and it will find a bigger house. Give it an NFL contract and it will produce a bankruptcy within 2 years. The system eats whatever you feed it. We proved that in the first 3 minutes. So the sequence is not money first. It is rules first. Here are the 4 replacements, in order. First, pay the asset column before you pay the lifestyle. The moment income arrives. A fixed percentage, 10% at the absolute minimum, moves automatically into investments before you can see it, spend it, or negotiate with it. You are no longer saving what is left after spending. You are spending what is left after building. Second, keep 1 hour a day for something you own. A skill that raises your value, a small business. A body of work. It does not need to replace your job this year. It needs to exist, and it needs to compound. Third, reprice everything in decades. Before any major purchase. Ask what this money becomes in 20 years if it is invested instead, and then decide with the real number on the table. Sometimes the purchase still wins. But now you are choosing with open eyes instead of being chosen for. Fourth, measure net worth, not income. Income is what flows through you. Net worth is what stays. Track it every month and watch it the way the middle class watches salary, because the number you stare at is the number your behavior starts optimizing for. Ownership, not salary, becomes your definition of safety. For moves, none of them require a raise. All of them require the one thing this video just gave you, the ability to see the rules you have been running. The middle class is not where you are. It is a program you inherited, and programs can be rewritten. So here is the question to answer in the comments, and be specific, because specificity is where the rewriting starts. Which of the 5 rules has been running your life the longest? And what is the single most expensive thing it has cost you so far? Name the rule and name the cost. If this video pulled back a curtain for you, subscribe to Greatness Quest Archive. This channel exists for exactly this, uncovering the hidden mechanics of wealth and success, learning them deeply, and ascending past them. We have an entire archive on how your subconscious runs your financial life, and it pairs perfectly with what you just learned. And you will want to be here for what comes next. Because the 5 rules are only half the story. The modern economy is full of mechanisms specifically engineered to exploit those rules, money traps. built by very smart people, designed to keep you exactly where you are. In the next video, we expose them one by one, uncover, learn, ascend. I will see you there.